Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Doctor Who, Season 11, Episode 6. It's called Demons of the Punjab. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. That is not a title I thought I'd ever be saying, is Demons of the Punjab. But, so, this one is focusing on Yaz and her family, and
Yes.
going back to her grandmother in 1947, and the conflict because she was going to marry a Hindu man, and his brother wasn't so thrilled. The Hindu man specifically, his brother not so thrilled about this, and he's all for keeping everything separate. And it gets very tense, and obviously very historical again. What did you feel about this one?
I really like most of it. It's kind of a pseudo sequel stylistically to Rosa.
Mm-hmm.
I'm digging these are maybe my favorite episodes of the season, these kinds of the historical drama ones.
Mm.
Uh, I think weirdly the quote unquote demons are just not necessary.
Yeah.
They're maybe the worst part of the episode. They're not bad. They're just I don't know if we needed them.
I mean, I guess they kind of have to be there to a point because there has to be some. At least the Doctor and co has to think there's a threat for the first half of the episode, and
Right.
and if they weren't there, then what would we be doing for?
No, it's a fair thing,
Yeah,
but they kind of feel just like this tangentially thing, just to have something there, just to be with the theme of, oh, look who the real monsters are, right?
I mean,
Which
I guess because if they weren't there, then there'd be nothing. There'd be nothing because the thing with the Rosa Parks episode is you had this villain who was also a time traveler, right?
yes,
And try to alter what had happened. Nothing bad would actually be happening that wasn't supposed to happen if there were, and technically there wasn't anyway because it turns out that the
yeah, that's
demons
the
were
thing
just,
because they didn't actually interfere with anything.
yeah, but you think they're going to, and that's what you think the threat is.
Yeah,
But if you didn't have them, then all in the fact that our characters have time traveled back to the past, there'd been nothing in the episode that would actually be like science fiction or or supernatural or whatever, right? It would just
that's
be,
that's fine by me.
yeah, but what would the conflict be?
Yeah, no, that's the problem,
Yeah,
and I think that's the biggest weakness of this episode is that they're there because there has to be a conflict of some sort, but they don't really add anything either. They're just there because they have to be.
and I think that's why I'm not as big on this one as I think you are. Is I like what it's trying to do. I like the message that it's trying to get across. But ultimately, I think it's a really dull episode in terms of actual plot. Like there's like
In
almost
terms of
nothing.
plot, sure, but in terms of the characters that are involved, there's a little 40-ish minute drama with the characters. I'm really into it.
Lukewarm. I'm lukewarm on this
Fair enough.
for different reasons than I was in the last couple, though. Admittedly, for very
Yeah.
different reasons. Last one was just silly schlock that went off the rails. This one was almost too far in the opposite direction. I loved the Rosa Parks episode. I think the Rosa Parks episode blended a conflict that made sense in a premise like Doctor Who with the actual historical thing that we're talking about, had a message, all of it blended effortlessly together to create this story, this episode. In this one, I felt like it was trying to like it was like fitting a square plot in a circular episode. Like it was trying to squeeze it in, and like you say, there's not. I mean, the conflict there is conflict there, and of course the actual story of the characters in the past, but that conflict was always there no matter what.
It
Um,
was, yeah.
this episode is almost just Yaz and Co observing without making a difference to anything, and not really having any impact on anything. And I think because of that, as protagonists, it feels like they fall short. It feels like it's not as engaging because of it.
See, for me, that's one of the most appealing aspects is that they're like, shit, we really want to do something, we want to intervene, but we can't. We have to do nothing, and
And
that's part of the conflict for them that makes it interesting to me.
yeah, but I had that better in Rosa Parks episode when they
Oh,
were
that
on
was
that
better. I'm
bus.
not. I'm not
Like
disputing that.
to me, this was kind of a rehash of that moment when they had to just not interfere with the fact that the husband was going to die, like right after the wedding.
I think. I like it in general as a, if this season is a statement of what Kimmel wants this season, what wants Doctor Who to be for his
Mm.
run. This feels a return to, during Moffat, it was very much no one dies today, right? The Doctor saves everyone, and this season is going, no, people die. Sometimes we have to let that happen, even if we don't like it. We can't save everyone, and it's a return to that I'm particularly enjoying.
Fair. I mean, I like that. I like that people can die. I like stakes. I don't think this was. I just didn't think it was that interesting to watch. I was telling you beforehand that I fell asleep in the middle of this episode, which is actually why the review is like 2 days late. Is because when we were supposed to record it, I fell asleep halfway through watching it.
Yeah. Which see, this is it to me. The all the stuff with the family drama that it was engrossing. I was so into that stuff that I
Do you
can't
know
fathom.
what my problem is that I think in this one, obviously, I think in any of these, there's an element of a lot of exposition. I think in this one, though, so much of because the exposition in Rosa Parks came from the Doctor and the others talking about why this is important, right? It wasn't Rosa Parks herself explaining what's going on in the situation.
Yeah.
In this episode, you have the main people in the conflict constantly telling us why there's a conflict and what the racial dispute is here, the religious dispute more specifically,
Yeah.
and it felt like it was just that's what the main conflict was. It was mostly explained to us what's happening rather than, and it felt really surface level because of that. I didn't really feel like there was any subtlety to anything it was doing. As a there was no nuance to it.
Yeah, I don't know if I can say there was
And
subtlety.
and
I don't know.
and when it got to the point where the brother was like holding him up at gunpoint and like telling the others to go so they don't get killed, um, I had a hard time buying him. Like I don't think we spent enough time with them to really have the impact of him basically making a heel turn and being this the whole time.
Because for me, I felt like I could see that coming from about halfway, and I was
Well,
looking
no, I
forward to
agree.
that 'cause it was building.
I agree. I could see it coming. It was all so obvious. They telegraphed it like
Yeah,
really obviously. But what I'm saying is there was no impact because of that. But it was instead of feeling like sometimes we were talking about other shows and we'll talk about how they've seeded something properly and we'll see the character going in that direction.
yeah.
And then when it finally happens, it feels like it's culminating everything that we've seen them building to. You don't get that in from the introduction to when he does this. It's like maybe 25-30 minutes. I don't think you can do it in that time. This is different
No,
than
that's
that.
fair. But you said, oh, it felt like this heel turn, right? And I don't think it was. It felt like he was from the start. He was this aggressive, bigoted person, and this
Oh,
felt
sure.
like a progression to that. It didn't feel like it was out of nowhere. It didn't feel like a turn at all.
No, when I say heel turn, I don't mean out of nowhere though.
No, but it didn't feel like it was even a change in the character at all. It felt like just a touch further is all it felt.
Yeah, what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that the other characters react as if it is though, and that's my problem. Is that to us it's really obvious that he's villainous in some way,
Yeah.
and the characters all react like this. Oh my god, you're not doing this to your own family. What are you doing? No.
I mean, I guess they knew he was a dick. I think they didn't expect him to pull out a gun. Which I mean, I think if it's your family, I think it's a fair enough expectation.
I don't know. The moment just didn't land for me. I was just kind of like, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
fair enough. That part did land for me. I do have some other criticisms. As I said, with the demons. Yaz is for it being her episode is kind of just underutilized not in the sense of you mentioned how they're not that involved with the plot. And I don't mean that. I just mean she doesn't really have any moments for how it hits her personally. She has the conversation with her grandmother afterwards, but I don't feel like the actress gets an excuse to show off a bit, like he should
No.
do for her episode.
No, she definitely doesn't. But I think my biggest problem is that there's just no agency. They don't really affect anything. Like they don't accomplish anything. They don't affect anything, whether it's intentional or otherwise. Everything just kind of has to play out as it did. But there's nothing. The thing about the Rosa Parks episode is that they have to make sure it played out as it did, because the threat is that it might
Yeah,
not.
and that's what differentiates this from that episode to me. You know, you said, oh, it felt like a bit of a rehash.
Some of the
To me,
moments, some of the moments feel
some
like
of
a
the
bit of a
moments,
rehash.
sure, but for me, that key difference of, we just have to do nothing, and we have to have the restraint to do nothing. Whereas with the Rosa Parks, they had to fight to make it happen, right? That's the key difference to me that was interesting.
Yeah, but there's ways to do that and actually make it engaging to the audience, and I don't think this was an example of that. To me, this was an example of the main characters just observing, and therefore it's hard to really, because they're not really striving to accomplish anything, and it's hard to get into that. It's Kingdom of the Crystal Skull syndrome.
Do you think?
Yeah, if you I mean, not that I'd recommend anyone go back and watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but one of the best criticisms I ever heard of that movie is that Indiana Jones, that entire thing, doesn't actually make the choice to do anything. He just kind of reacts to things over and over again. And this is a bit of a stretch of a comparison, I admit, but like,
yeah, because I think here they make a clear choice to do nothing. That's the choice, right? It's like we could intervene, we could stop him, but we won't, and we can't.
I don't know. This one just didn't work as well. It just didn't. I didn't feel like they were in any way involved. Like, you tell me that's fine if that's the choice ultimately at the end when they realise that's what they have to do, or what the choice they have to make. But nothing they do in this episode actually does or accomplishes anything in any way.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it never feels like they're trying to do anything really, outside of trying to like catch the killer when they think it's the demons who have done it.
Yeah.
But that ultimately just feels like a waste of time once you find out, oh no, it was nothing.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you really like the designs of those aliens, though?
Also, this may be a harsh criticism, but this felt like a really cheap episode.
Do you think?
Yeah, this was like what, in a hut in a field. Those the one spaceship area they went into.
Yeah, but I thought I don't know where they were shooting, but
Yeah,
it looked gorgeous in terms of location. I thought.
yeah, it's okay. I don't know.
There was the shot before they meet Premier, though. When they land, they get out and they're looking out over the hill. I thought it was gorgeous.
Do you know what? I feel like every time I dislike an episode of Doctor Who, all you do is defend it.
No, because I've given some genuine criticism. I think this is my second favorite episode of the season.
Oh God, no.
Behind Rosa. I think it's playing a lot of similar beats that I'm really enjoying these type of stories. And I think it's doing a lot of things that work for me. I think this is ultimately not as good as Rosa because it has some clear problems with, like I started this off being negative, saying, the aliens felt a little bit kind of pointless.
Here's my thing. It's not fun like Rosa was, because Rosa was fun when it wasn't being serious.
Fun, yeah.
And then when it was being serious, it nailed that, and it felt like it meant something. I just don't. I never cared about the characters in this. I don't think. I just never really get into them as stories. They felt less like characters and more like they're just here to tell me this message.
Fair enough.
And I can never really get into them because of that. Because as soon as it was like, oh, he has to die at the start, I'm like, yeah, he has to die at the end then, okay.
Well, yeah.
And it never really did anything to make me really get into his character. It didn't have any nuance to them to actually make me care. I mean, I can't think of a better way to say it, really.
No, that's like, obviously it was with me, but I mean, we've seen this. We're reviewing Sabrina on Netflix at the minute.
Sure.
And there's a relationship in there where I'm just like, I just don't care, right? You're into it,
yeah.
And I just don't care about these characters. It happens sometimes. And I think it's just a case of the of us who I was quite into these characters and into the family drama of the episode, whereas you just didn't work for you.
Yeah, I'd argue though that you're a bit more lenient with Doctor Who though.
Maybe.
Because
but I don't know if I was in this instance.
I just don't think there's enough there. I don't think there's enough there to actually make any of the dramatic stuff in this episode land. I don't think there's enough there to do it.
Fair enough.
I mean, it falls flat. I guess that is, if I want to describe this episode in a phrase, it falls flat.
Fair enough. In my defense, it seems to be a relatively well-received episode elsewhere.
Yeah, fair enough. But
so this isn't me just being incredibly lenient. People seem to be quite happy with it for the most part.
Last week was, though. Everyone hated last week's episode, but you.
Fair enough.
I saw the tweets.
I didn't happen to look last week. I've only seen them this week because we're 2 days later.
That's fair. I don't really see typically much of what the reactions are, except unfortunately I saw reactions to Rosa, but not for the right reasons. I saw a very negative.
Yeah, do you know what? There's been a lot of headlines in the past week of, oh, Doctor Who is losing millions of viewers. It has to stop being so PC, or it's going to be dead in the water by the end of the season. And then you look at the numbers, and yeah, it's lost technically millions of viewers over the course of the first episode to
Yeah, but
now.
wasn't the first episode like a huge spike because of the new Doctor?
The first episode was the highest rated episode of Doctor Who since 2005, I believe. in terms of the live viewing numbers.
What is the season average compared to the last season average?
Well, last season's average is the worst it's been since New Who. This is at the moment on par to be the highest average.
Yes.
Now it could, typically it'll decline a bit more until you get to the last episode, and then the last episode will spike up again, as the usual. So it might slip under that, but if it does, it's not going to be far off. It's going to be second best.
Who are these weirdos who just come back for the last episode? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know, but it
to me.
happens on every show, doesn't it?
Yeah. Hell, it happens in our reviews of TV shows.
It does. Which I can at least understand that a bit more. People want to go, "Ooh, what did you think of the ending?"
Oh, sure, yeah. Because at least if they've watched the whole show, they can still follow our conversation of the last episode.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I don't know. That's what fell flat for me. I think Rosa was a fantastic episode. I think this one gave me dull characters and didn't give me much of a story to really get into.
That's fair. I can't argue with you anymore.
And I fell asleep. Ultimately, that's my biggest criticism, is I fell asleep.
Yeah, because you fall asleep in stuff you like all the time.
I do, but it's an easy criticism to give.
It is, but I just want to point out for the audience that it's not as huge a deal as you're saying it is.
Yeah, but I almost fell asleep a second time as well, to be fair.
Well, okay, that would have been worse.
I almost fell asleep the second time. Oh, dear. Yeah, whatever. I mean, come back next week for more disagreements on Doctor Who, unless we get another Rosa one.
We've agreed on a couple.
Yeah. The problem is, though, is whenever we disagree, it's always because you're positive and I'm negative, because you just have rose-tinted glasses on whenever it comes to Doctor Who for some bloody reason. Literally half the criticisms I've thrown at Doctor Who, you respond with, "That's just Doctor Who."
I haven't said that once for this episode. Not once.
Oh, this episode, sure. You've said it this season, though.
No. But I want to be very clear on my defense of this episode. I wholeheartedly agree with everything I've said. And like I said, it's not a perfect episode, but it's my second favourite of the season.
Alright, that's Doctor Who episode 6. Is that one?
Yeah.
Up? 6, yeah, 6. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can do that over there. Otherwise, that is us though. Thank you once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?